start because I know our congressman is on a very tight deadline today from his undisclosed location. So let me roll through real quick. Thank you all very much. I want to thank the Upstate Alliance. Once again, thank BMW, GSP Airport, the Greenville Chamber, Nelson Mullins for being our presidential sponsors today, Senate sponsors, Lockheed, and one Spartanburg, and of course our House sponsors. I corrected the slide today, Blue Ridge and the Greer Chamber. With that, let me turn over to Dave Edwards. Everyone knows Dave, President CEO of the airport. He is going to do our introduction of our first speaker this morning so we can get William in and then back out to his duties this morning.
Well, thank you, Jason. Good to be here this morning, and welcome to day 2 of our National Issue Forum. I'll dispense with any extended remarks as Jason mentioned, our first speaker is on a tight time schedule this morning, but I would like to say I have the honor of introducing Congressman William Timmons, our United States Representative for South Carolina's 4th Congressional District. District is located in the heart of the upstate and includes large portions of Greenville and Spartanburg counties, including the cities of Greenville and Spartanburg. William was elected to the House of Representatives of 2018 midterm election. He's running for re-election in 2020. I would like to thank William for being with us this morning and would now like to turn the floor over to him to share some remarks with us. William, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate all the hard work you're doing at GSP. It's been a tough couple months, but you know, the light is at the end of the tunnel, and I'm optimistic for what happens after. Let me start with that. I'm gonna start with a positive note. So we've had a tough few months, COVID, racial tensions, our country's in turmoil. We will get through this. The election's coming up, less than 50 days away now. And I think that, you know, the spring holds a lot of prosperity. We're going to get a vaccine that's readily available, and we're going to rebuild our country. So one thing I want to talk about particular to the Greenville Chamber and Greenville business interests is the opportunity that will occur after COVID. And that is, we're going to have a lot of foreign manufacturing domesticated, particularly in the PPE and pharmaceutical areas, but I think it could be larger than that. A lot of supply chains have been adversely affected, and I do think that there's going to be a concerted effort at the federal level to create something similar to the Berry Amendment for DOD, but we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. We can't be caught on our heels. So I think the upstate's in a very good position to benefit from that. In addition to that, the urban, you call it urban flight. You know, my sister-in-law has been in DC in an 890 square foot apartment with her husband and 2 kids. And they have been talking about moving to Greenville for years, but I think this is going to put them over the edge. So I think there's a lot of people that are going to be moving to the mid-sized cities. And I think the upstate and really South Carolina in general are in a position to flourish post-COVID. So that said, let's talk about what's going on in DC right now. Well, we got 2 major packages that have to be considered. We need to deal with spending. It'll likely be a continuing resolution. We have not done our job yet, and it is unlikely that it will be done in regular order by the elections. So in the next 2 weeks, I'm expecting a vote for a continuing resolution that will extend our spending packages through probably December, and we'll have to come back and then finish our job there. Likely attached to that or separate is going to be something for COVID. This obviously did not get done in July. The big push-pull, really we're at about a $2 trillion gap. The Republicans in the Senate want to spend a little bit less than $1 trillion, and the Democrats in the House want to spend over $3 trillion. So there's a lot of distance between those 2 numbers. And, you know, ultimately we have to do something. We need to help people that need help. But the argument is that we might have been a little bit overly broad. A lot of people that did not have their income disrupted received checks from the federal government, and we need to be very frugal. Well, we don't need to be frugal. We need to make sure that our approach is tailored as to not overspend. We do have approaching $30 trillion of debt, and this is going to become a problem long term. There is a bill that we've been working on in the office related to 5G, 5th generation cellular technology, that is possibly going to go on suspension here in the next few weeks. What that will do is it will essentially tell the world that if you're going to have 5G, you have to get secure 5G. There's a big issue with Huawei in China. They're essentially giving away the infrastructure for the next generation cellular technology, but they're keeping a back door. It's really bad. We got to get the Chinese to play fair and to be on even footing. But that is possibly going to go on suspension. And it'd be pretty neat to have that bill pass in my first term. Business liability protections is very likely to be included in either a standalone COVID package or to be included in the continuing resolution. That's a must-have in the Senate Majority Leader's eyes. So I do expect that to happen. I guess one last thing before I open it up for questions. We've been working really hard the whole time we've been there, but particularly since COVID. I've had so much feedback from the business community, and we have been able to facilitate change at the federal level to accomplish whatever our constituent needs, whatever our business needs. So I would just ask that if there's a problem with the federal government or even the state government, call our office. We are happy to do everything we can to help get you a favorable resolution. We'll at least get you an answer. I can't promise you the outcome, but we will work hard to make sure that your needs are met. So please do not hesitate to call me or the team. And with that, Jason, thank you for having us. Dave, thanks for the introduction. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Folks, you can throw some questions in the chat for William. I know that he and certainly Freddie, who's on the call, are no stranger to anyone around here. So I want to add real quick, though, Congressman, thank you for all the work you've done, the communication that's come out since since COVID started and since all the shutdowns. I mean, just joining us for our legislative committees and doing all those things. I mean, you've been very open. The office has been very open. Mutre, Freddie, Hope, everyone has been really good about getting information out. We really appreciate that because obviously there's a lot going on and a lot of uncertainty all the time. So there's tons of questions. We do have one question. PPP was great assistance for small business, allowed us to maintain payroll and staff levels. Unfortunately, that money has run out. The economy has not returned. What is Congress discussing that will enable us to keep our folks employed through the fall and winter?
Sure, Brian, that's a great question. Really, the three, there's a bunch of variables that are being discussed, but one is the direct payments, one is liability protections, one is plus and up PPP, one is unemployment assistance. So these are all the variables that are at play in this conversation regarding the next phase COVID relief package. And the challenge is that we're 50 days out from an election, and no matter what happens, it's going to be spun one way or the other, depending on how you're pushing the national politics. So that's what we're up against. I think the biggest issue, everybody wants to help people that need help, but we need to make it tailored to where if your business has not had income disruption, you should not be allowed to get additional money. And we still don't have good statistics on it, but ultimately, $700+ billion was given in the PPP program. And originally it was loans, then it was grants. And by the way, that money's not yet put on the government's balance sheet yet. Everybody talks about one number of debt. It's actually, $1 trillion higher. So the question is, how do we tailor a program that addresses the need, helping businesses that need help without creating opportunities for fraud? You saw recently, I mean, the numbers are as high as, $50 billion of stolen money. So, I mean, we just need to get better at this. But I do want to help businesses that need help. My business probably would have failed, but for the PPP program. I have hundreds of people that I've talked to that are in the same boat. So I am definitely not opposed to extending the program, but we just have to tweak it. We have to tie it to revenue disruption. And we got to be very reasonable with the path forward. But that is one of the things being discussed. I hate to say it, I'm honestly not super confident that it will get across the finish line by the election, but it is definitely in the hopper, and we'll know more in the next couple days. Apparently, the Speaker and Secretary Mnuchin have come to some sort of an accord. We're supposed to be in Congress for the next 3 weeks, but I'm getting word that the third week is likely not going to happen because a deal has been made. It's funny, the Speaker threatens to make us work for 3 weeks to get us to do something. And it's just funny, like only in Congress does the threat of working 3 weeks in a row create, movement. But that's a different conversation. But hopefully, Brian, one way or the other, help is on the way.
Good. That was a good part about the Senate bill in particular was was the idea of a new PPP plan, which is good. I hope we can get some of that stuff through. What other questions do we have for the congressman? He's got about 10 more minutes with us. I cannot believe y'all are quite as
Okay, Andrew is asking about the NDAA.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that will get out of the Senate pretty soon. You know, the House version was bipartisan, so I'm hopeful that that happens. Obviously, they have to do it in the next couple days, so the deadline is approaching. But hopefully, it is just passed. If they make changes, they'll have to go to conference, and I don't know if we would then voice it, but it could be complicated if substantial changes are made. That also will occur in the next 2 to 3 weeks at most. While I'm waiting on another question, I really want to encourage the business community to be proactive in this this transition. We're going to have so much manufacturing coming back from overseas, whether it's PPP, pharmaceuticals, PPE, pharmaceuticals. You know, we can be proactive. We can identify businesses that are likely to relocate, and we can go out and say, hey, we've got this, you know, turnkey ready spot. Let's break ground. Greenville City, Greenville County should be being proactive. BMW is just the perfect example of how we have encouraged investment, and it has gone so well for everyone. So I just think that we need to not be reactive. We need to be proactive. There's just such incredible opportunity on the horizon.
And not to break this into a state discussion, Congressman, but that's something that we've been talking about at the state level. Are there state incentives? Are there other things like that? So anything, you know, to reshore, to bring supply chains back. So if you have any ideas about that, let me know offline, because we'd certainly love to figure out what a state package might look like. So certainly a lot of that is a state issue rather than a federal issue per se. So as we're talking about some of these things, you know, we had a lot of discussion yesterday with the U.S. Chamber about infrastructure, broadband, other things like that. What are you hearing about some of that? And you know, again, could there be movement before the election, or what are you expecting maybe next year?
So it was interesting. I just assumed that the HEROES package, the $3.3 trillion, which I thought included everything, would have a substantial investment in broadband, rural broadband. It did not. It had, you know, a little bit, but not much. I see this as a no-brainer. If we're going to tell people that they have to stay home, if we're going to tell kids that they can't go to school, if they don't have internet, I mean, what are their options? There are no good options. So I think that we do need to start investing in rural broadband to make sure that everyone has access. I think education is going to be hardest hit by COVID, both in the near term and the long term. And I think technology is going to fill a void. I'm currently getting my master's in cybersecurity right now from NYU, and we were supposed to go up for 3 different 1-week segments, but it's exclusively online now, and it's fantastic. I mean, we have class 3 nights a week, and we're on Zoom, and I mean, it is flawless. Some of the PowerPoints that they have just really been incredible, and you know, the different learning methods they have very much impressed me. So I think that's the future, and I think it's going to be very disruptive long-term in education, but obviously this lack of physical presence is disruptive in the short term. We got another question here. Do you think companies are going to flee the liberal states to the red states? Well, you saw Elon Musk said, I'm out of California. But, you know, when states are so not business friendly, when states refuse to protect private property rights, when states allow people to, you know, loot your business, I don't think that an investor that says, I have 2 different markets where I'm going to put a CVS, and, you know, how do you not factor that in? You have a fiduciary obligation to your shareholders to factor that in. If you're going to be, you know, if you're going to be treated unfavorably, and then your private property rights not protected, that is a variable that will be taken into account. So the incredible job that law enforcement in the upstate has done to maintain, you know, law and order, and the incredible job South Carolina and the upstate has done to maintain a business-friendly environment will be rewarded. I just don't see any way around that. So I do believe so. And yeah, I'm hopeful. And while everybody's putting cell phone numbers in here, I'll put mine in. If you ever need me, you can call me directly. Trust me, everybody else uses it. You might as well.
So what happens when you keep your same cell phone from the State House, Congressman?
Everybody thought I wasn't going to, but I was like, I ran on that. That was part of the shtick. I was like, you can call me anytime.
Transfer that to a burner phone and then get yourself another one. No.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk. Thing, and I don't mean for this is not meant to be a partisan question, obviously. So don't take it this way. But we had a lot of talk yesterday about control of the House, control of the Senate, and whatnot. Obviously, the House isn't going to change. So what do you see as working? How can you work better with us, representing us with the Democratic leadership moving forward? I know that's been a big thing you've been trying to work on in your first term.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Congressman Clyburn. He is such a force in the Democratic Party. I do everything I can to build that relationship. And I have a number of friends that are, across the aisle, and I try to maintain those relationships whenever possible and build those relationships. Ultimately, if you remove the edge 10% from both parties, I bet the middle 80% agree on 95% of stuff. So, but you're just torn when you have people that are saying things that are just so horrific. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, the fringe is trying to kind of define the party, and that's not productive and it's not helpful. We're going to have $30 trillion of debt within the next 12 to 18 months. There's no way around it. So that's not a Republican or a Democrat problem. We've both spent money we don't have. So we've got to come together and find a way to fix it. The only way we can fix it is by fixing immigration, by fixing Social Security, and by fixing healthcare. And there's no scenario in my lifetime where the Republicans will be able to fix it or the Democrats will be able to fix it. We're just not going to have the situation we had under the Affordable Care Act, where we had a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, and the Democrats held the House and the White House. So that's never going to happen again. We need to come together. We have to work on these from a policy-based perspective. We have to analyze all of the different impacts these policies have, and we have to move forward. Immigration's the thing that makes me the most upset. It's so easy. I mean, nobody's going to be 100% happy at the end of it, but we've got between 12 and 20 million people that are not on the government's radar, and they want to be, part of our society. They want to be fully legally here, and they need to find a way to do that. And we then need to tax them, and we need to, make them pay into all these systems. So I just think that we have a lot of policies that are easy to fix, but it's going to require people working together, and I'm going to do everything I can to help facilitate that objective.
I think we have time for one or two more questions before I know you have to skedaddle.
I've got a question from Tim.
You got one? Yeah.
Compromise lies on the spending bill impasse. So I think the CR is going to be fairly easy. The continuing resolution will be fairly easy. The issue will be whether it's going to be kicked down the road until December or February, because the Democrats will want to push it further, because if they anticipate a more favorable negotiating position based off of who wins the different elections. But I do think they'll probably just end up pushing it down to December. So the continuing resolution probably will not be that big of a deal. The COVID package is the bigger challenge. The Republicans are going to want to have a more surgical, more tailored approach. I just don't know how you negotiate when somebody wants to give $1 trillion to state and local governments. I mean, if they wanted to restrict that money to exclusively COVID, COVID impact, that's an argument. But the speaker in the House bill, it includes so much that is not COVID related. And we're arguing over policies that have nothing to do with COVID. So we shouldn't be doing that. We should be focusing on helping the people that need it, helping the businesses that need help to get through. Tourism, hotels, restaurants. I mean, gyms. Oh, let me tell you what, if you own a gym or a yoga studio right now, you're hurting. So we need to help businesses that are disproportionately impacted. if you work for the government and you have not had a single, change in your income, the only thing you've done is had to stay home, we don't need to send you a check. And if your income has not been disrupted, we do not need to help you. These policies are something that we can discuss at a later date, but right now we need to help the people that need help. And I hope that Congress can come together to just craft a bill that is tailored to get help to where it needs to go and does not include extraneous things that are not COVID related. But unfortunately, for better or for worse, that conversation is literally between like 6 people. Congress is very strange. Right now you got the Chief of Staff, Secretary of Treasury, the Speaker. I don't even think McConnell has been, the Senate Majority Leader apparently is not even at the table right now, which is just mind-boggling to me. But I guess that's the way it's working in 2020. I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready for New Year's. I'm not a big New Year's guy, but New Year's Eve, I'm going to celebrate New Year's for sure. But hey, I do have to go.
Yeah.
Jason, Dave, thank y'all so much for having me. My cell phone number's in there. Please call anytime. I do not know everything. If your business has a weird issue or is disproportionately impacted by COVID, call me. I will do whatever I can to help and factor it into the decision-making that we're making. As your representative in Congress, please reach out. We're working hard, but we need your help to understand the issues that affect you. So with that, Jason, thank you. Dave, thank you. And y'all have a great rest of the week.
Thank you. Good luck today.
Thanks. See ya.
Take care.
William, thank you. I really want to thank him for joining us. For those of you who don't know, he's actually on military duty this week with the National Guard. And so he woke up early and took an extra little bit of time out of his day to join us before he has to be somewhere in 10 minutes. So he definitely kind of wedged us in there, which was fantastic. Mutre just put his cell phone in there